Welcome to Hatman Strikes Back Daily Boxing News. Do we need a rematch between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn? In my opinion, absolutely not. Now, why do I say this? It was a good fight, wasn't it? Back and forth action, big punches landed by both guys, packed out the Tottenham Stadium, the crowd loved it, people all over the UK watching on pay-per-view loved it, all built upon the nostalgia of the rivalry between the two dads. It was great for boxing, wasn't it? Why not do a rematch? Well, I wouldn't disagree with any of that. But the thing is, as a hardcore boxing fan, I'm looking beyond the rivalry of their fathers, beyond their surnames, and focusing on where each guy is within their respective weight class. Before these two originally signed to fight each other a couple of years ago, I was really impressed with the job that Matchroom were doing with Conor Benn. I thought they were building him well. I thought he was showing steady improvement. I thought the matchmaking was very good. He'd just beaten the likes of Chris Algieri and Chris Van Heerden in good fashion. He was on a steady trajectory towards a world title challenge, 147 pounds. And I wanted him to stay on that trajectory. I wanted to find out how he would fare against world level welterweights, since he is a welterweight. But then all of a sudden, out of the blue, his team do this diversion where he's jumping up 2 weight classes to fight Chris Eubank Jr. And I get it, there's nostalgia and therefore there's money in the fight. But you're chasing those things for short-term monetary gain at the expense potentially of longer-term monetary gain by way of fulfilling Conor Benn's potential in his natural weight class of 147 pounds. You're potentially sacrificing success he may have had against world-class welterweights. In the long run, that might have actually been more lucrative. You know, moving up through the weights is something you normally do later on in your career when you've already achieved world honors in your natural weight class. Conor Benn hasn't done any of that. But Matchroom have got this smash and grab mentality where they're willing to sacrifice a fighter's long-term development in order to cash in the short term. They did everything in their power to force this fight with Chris Eubank Jr. to happen. It took 2 years, 2 failed PED tests, etc., etc. They eventually got what they want, and it was a good fight. But at what cost to Conor Benn's career? See, people are not seeing the big picture here. This is why I never wanted this Eubank Jr. Conor Benn fight in the first place. I told you I was going to watch it. I'm a content creator. I'm here to get views and make money. And I did enjoy the fight. It was entertaining. But I'm, as I say, thinking about the potential negatives here for Conor Benn's development as a fighter. Pursuing this Chris Eubank Jr. fight has cost him 2 years, basically, of inactivity. He's now 28. If he were to go back down to welterweight at this point, it might be a struggle. Historically, we've seen fighters who go up in weight and then try to come back down find themselves in a lot of difficulty. Apparently, the body doesn't like it because we're talking about gaining muscle, right? And then coming down again. If Conor Benn were to stick around at 160 even longer to fight Eubank Jr. again, is he really going to come down to 147 after that? Surely it would be even more difficult to come back down to 147 if he fought Eubank Jr. for a second time, because that's longer at middleweight, right? And Conor Benn is not a middleweight. He's a welterweight. But he might, through pursuing this Eubank Jr. rivalry, have messed himself up physically as a welterweight. Not just with the yo-yoing in weight, but also with the punishment he's taking against a much bigger man. Now, some people might say, big deal if he can't make 147 anymore. He can fight at 154. I think he's too small for 154. Yes, I know he just gave Chris Eubank Jr. a tough night's work, and he's a 160-pounder, but Chris Eubank Jr. is coming to the end, and he's never been a world champion. It's not like Conor Benn just gave a tough night's work to Canelo Alvarez or something. It's only Chris Eubank Jr. No disrespect. I'm telling you that there are guys at world level at 154 that are better than Chris Eubank Jr. that will be more difficult for Conor Benn than Chris Eubank Jr. And Chris Eubank Jr. still beat him, by the way. So I don't think pursuing a rematch is a good idea for Conor Benn. Personally, I think it will be the same result, but Eubank perhaps would win more comfortably, especially if they remove the rehydration clause. And by the way, if there is a rematch, not only do I think that the rehydration clause needs to be removed, but I think the fight should be at a catch weight. Oh yes, a catch weight of 165 pounds. And that's for Eubank Jr.'s safety. He's the one who was taken to hospital as a precautionary measure after the fight. Which brings me on to my next point. It's damaging for Conor Benn to be yo-yoing in weight like this. Historically, as I said before, we've seen this with various fighters when they try to come back down after going up in weight. Their body can't handle it. And also Conor Benn taking punishment from a much bigger man. It's not good for him. And all of that for what? Short-term payday? What about the long-term paydays he could have got at welterweight if he kept on developing in that, his natural weight class? But also for Eubank Jr., I think a rematch would be risky or even dangerous for him as well, because he's been fighting at 160 pounds since he turned pro in 2011. He was 21 years old back then. He's 35 now. There was a brief period where, I think it was for maybe 5 or 6 fights, he stepped up to 168. But I think it was after the James DeGale fight, he moved back down to 160. I agree with his dad. He's got no business continuing to fight at 160. When's the last time you saw Eubank looking really energetic in a fight, the way he used to in his late 20s? Now, obviously, age and wear and tear are going to take some of your energy away. But I also strongly suspect that a major contributing factor is Eubank still trying to make 160. The energy's not there anymore. Not just for this fight against Conor Benn, where there was a rehydration limit. He didn't look great against Rematch. Yes, he beat Liam Smith in the rematch, but go back and watch that fight. It's on YouTube. He didn't look spectacular there either. He didn't have the speed and the vigor of his old self. The reason I think he moved back down to 160 pounds after fighting at super middleweight for a while is because I think the George Groves fight gave him a rude awakening. I think he felt Groves' strength and power and said to himself, you know what? These big-ass skillful guys are going to be too much for me. If I happen across a big guy who's not that skillful, maybe I'll be okay. So he moved back down to 160 because his physicality, being strong and fast and all that kind of stuff, would be an asset against 160 pounders. But at this stage, I think he's reached the point of diminishing returns. I don't think his body can do 160 pounds and still perform to the best of his 35-year-old body's ability. You know, let's look at this in the cold light of day, people. Chris Eubank Jr. just struggled. Even though I thought he was the clear winner, I'm talking about from a physical perspective. He just struggled with an unproven welterweight. A middleweight who's like 5'11", 6 feet tall, just struggled with an unproven welterweight, folks. To me, that says he needs to move up or he needs to retire. Because if he boxes on at 160 pounds, things are going to get worse for him, in my opinion. Now, if he were to move up, who would he fight? Well, I'll cover that in a separate video. Stay tuned. But in closing, I'll just reiterate what I said at the start. I do not think there should be a rematch. I wouldn't want there to be a rematch. I want Conor Benn to move back down to 147. Hopefully it's not too late. Hopefully he hasn't messed his body up. Go back down to 147, fight Barrios, and pursue his career in that weight class. Forget about Rematch and Eubank. There are fights for him at welterweight which are far more historically significant, that aren't based upon nostalgia because of the rivalry between his dad and Eubank Jr.'s dad. No, there are fights for him that can legitimize him outside of little novelty rivalries, where he can actually win world titles, where he can actually go down in the history books for stuff that people are going to care about in years to come. And again, over the long haul, perhaps it's too late now. Again, he's 28. But when he was 26 a couple years ago, over the long haul, there was the potential for him to actually make more money if he succeeded at world level at 147 than he makes going down this road pursuing fights with Chris Eubank Jr., which is a smash and grab thing. Big money, but short term, at the expense of, well, I've already covered it. And as scummy as Eddie Hearn has been in recent weeks, months, maybe forever, in the post-fight interviews he's done, I have seen him say, or at least suggest, that he would prefer Conor Benn to take the route that I've just laid out, rather than pursuing a Eubank Jr. rematch, going back down to 147 instead. Maybe it's too little too late, because I would have wanted him to do that in the beginning and never have fought Chris Eubank Jr. in the first place. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Leave yours in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'll catch you guys on the next one. I'm out. Are you surrounded by mindless bots in human form who adhere to the norm and blindly conform, who swallow all the mainstream BS and actually ridicule you for questioning things? Do you wish you had more free-thinking individuals in your life to network and converse with? Well, look no further. We're right here. Come and join the Brotherhood of Reason on Patreon. You'll gain access to my weekly topical content where we take deep dives on an endless variety of subjects, as well as my vast back catalogue of podcasts, videos, interviews, movie decodings, and my Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You'll also get to talk and network with myself and hundreds of other people in our members chat. You can enjoy all this via the Patreon app or on desktop, and download all my podcasts in high-quality MP3. There's no contract, no commitment. You can cancel at any time, just like Netflix, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper. Just download the app from the Play Store or the App Store, or simply visit patreon.com on a web browser. Then head on over to my page and select the tier called the Brotherhood of Reason. All the links are in the description box below. And just a quick money-saving tip for Apple users. If you purchase your Patreon subscription on the desktop site or on Android, then you'll avoid the ridiculous 30% fee that Apple charges for purchases made on the iOS app. So if you're on iPhone or iPad, save yourself some money by buying your subscription on the actual Patreon website or on Android because it's a lot cheaper. Once you've made that initial purchase, you can then use the Patreon app on your iPhone or iPad thereafter to access and enjoy your content as normal.